Namaste and welcome back to today's episode of Mahabharata Matters. In the previous episode, we saw that Yudhiṣṭhira, along with his three brothers, Draupadi, Kulaguru Dhaumya and Lomasha, set out on a pilgrimage. They visited many holy places. They went to river banks, rivers, river confluences, oceans even. They took holy bath in all these places as well. Rishi Lomasha beautifully and endearingly narrated the stories about the places. He told them about the Sthala Purana, the Puranic stories of the place, as well as Sthala Mahima, the glories of the places they visited. They met many rishis and sages along the way as well. They got all their blessings. Eventually, they reached the area of Dwaraka. Since they were on exile, they were not allowed to enter the city. So they stayed at a place called Prabhasa that was near Dwaraka. Upon hearing about their arrival, the Vrishnis and the Yadavas came to visit them. Krishna and Balarama were elated to meet the Pandavas and Draupadi. Yudhiṣṭhira told them about all the events that had happened so far since they met last. He also told them that Arjuna was on a quest for astras. He happily told them that he had already acquired the Pashupatastra and was in Indraloka currently. Krishna missed Arjuna. Balarama was upset to see the plight of the supreme king he had met last at Indraprastha. Their friend Satyaki had also accompanied them. He was sad too. Satyaki too, like Krishna and Balarama, belonged to the Vrishnis, and he was a dear student of Arjuna. He was a student of Drona too. Bhima and Draupadi expressed their anger that Yudhiṣṭhira would not take any action. Both Krishna and Satyaki agreed with the stance of Yudhiṣṭhira. Krishna explained that to Yudhiṣṭhira, the worldly riches meant nothing. He didn't care much for the kingdom or the wealth. All he cared for was Satya and Dharma. According to that, right now not taking any action was the right thing to do. Yudhiṣṭhira sighed a sigh of relief. Somebody had agreed with him. Bhima and Draupadi had been coaxing him otherwise so far. It had been difficult without Arjuna even for Nakula and Sahadeva to console them. After staying there for a while, they continued on their yatra. They met many rishis, many sages, got their blessings and enjoyed their time in the forest. Now they were moving northwards towards the Himalayas. The weather was getting adverse. One day they saw Mother Nature in its wildest fury. The skies were overcast. Thunder resounded in the skies. Rain poured in torrential amounts. Trees were uprooted and rocks started rolling from the mountain all over. The gusty winds made it impossible for them to see ahead. They took shelter in a secluded place, and suddenly, after the furore, the sun shined bright. Everything had cleared up and the air was crisp again. It was almost symbolic of how the Kurukshetra war was going to be and the calm that would come following the war. But the climb was getting harder. Draupadi could barely walk. They could barely breathe because the air was getting thinner. At that time, Yudhiṣṭhira asked Bhima to summon his son Ghatotkacha. Ghatotkacha had this power that he could be ushered by his father anytime. Just by being summoned by thought by Bhima, Ghatotkacha could be able to come and stand in front of him. He came and asked what help they needed. They told him that they could not travel any further and they needed his help. Carried by Ghatotkacha, the Pandavas travelled easily further. Lomasha and Rishi Dhaumya walked along with them. They arrived at the Badarika Ashrama, which was on top of the Himalayan peaks. Upon arriving there, they could see the beautiful scenery around. They saw Lake Bindusara or Bindusaras. This was the same lake from where Mayasura had got the treasures to build the Mayasabha. He had got a Gada for Bhima and also the Devadatta conch for Arjuna from here. The place was extremely serene. So serene that even Bhima and Draupadi seemed to have calmed down. There was a smile on their faces. They started spending their time at the Badarika Ashrama in the Himalayas. So what are our takeaways from the story? We have to be sure to put our foot in the right place first. After that, we should have the resolve to keep it firmly there. Yudhiṣṭhira did exactly that. He had taken his stance. No matter how much Bhima and Draupadi tried to egg him into action, he wouldn't budge. Starting off a job is the easy part, but holding our ground is the hardest. We learn this from Yudhiṣṭhira here. Even the slightest support becomes very comforting. Krishna and Satyaki siding with Yudhiṣṭhira was very pleasant for him. Yudhiṣṭhira was very pleased that someone agreed with his standpoint. Another takeaway from the story is that no matter how tough the going gets, the tough get going. Mediocre and coward people will back out midway. When faced with hardships, the easiest route is to back off. But the Pandavas did not do that. When the weather got rough, they faced the fury of Mother Nature calmly, and then they moved on. The climb was very difficult too, but they figured out how to get to their destination. With these thoughts, we come to the end of today's episode. Remember, in this series, we are discussing matters of Mahabharata because even today, Mahabharata matters. Hari Om!